played over the summer. A lot of you were here. That was a great time. I vowed not to do any of the songs from that night. I'm going to go forward instead of... That was about backwards. Going back into our past. I'm going to do a bunch of songs of different styles and different instrumentation and so forth since the glory days. Who was here for the glory days? Right. Yeah. Anyway, so here's one I wrote. And you can purchase it on this here fine CD if you want. Rose, beautiful wife in the back, has the merch table. This is called Cat Game. And every word of it's true. Your note said meet me for drinks at 10, and I know you will be there, but I couldn't say when. Now I may wait for just a little too long, but when I was a young man, I might have waited till dawn. The years may change, but the facts remain, and the rules of courtship are still the same. It's taken too many years, but at least now I know that sometimes the X wins, and sometimes it's the O. Don't you play that cat game with me? Don't you play that cat game with me? Don't play that cat game with me, 'cause I'm not going down. Ooh, now you gotta help me out with the hoo-ha's here. You going? Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. Everybody! Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. Ooh-ah, ooh-ah. I get the feeling, you don't know why. My blood won't bleed and my tears won't cry. It's just that I've seen it all before, and I'm way past the point where I feel the need to tally the score. 'Cause one is gonna lose and one will win, don't you see? I'm already 2 down, I won't make it 3. I'll tell you straight, no fooling around. I will be smiling, and you, darling, you'll be wearing a frown. If you play that cat game with me, now don't you play that cat game with me. Don't play that cat game with me, 'cause I'm not going down. Oh no. Now when I say cat game, baby, you say cat game, baby. Let's try one more time. Cat game, baby. Cat game. So don't play that cat game, baby. Cat game. Don't play that cat game, baby. Don't play that cat game, 'cause I play that game. Cat game, I play that game. Now don't you know I play that game to win? So that was, I probably wrote that one about, 21, 22 years ago, before I ever left this town to go down to Myrtle Beach, was where I live. Sort of, I live in Conway, but no one knows what you mean when you say Conway. So I say Myrtle Beach. But anyway, before I moved down there, I wrote this song. I may not play all of it, but I'm going to play some of it. Gotta move, gotta get out of this town, gotta move, 'cause baby you're bringing me down. Gotta move on, mama, gotta get away from you, 'cause living here, baby, without you is getting me down. Gotta move. So baby, I got to get gone. You done me wrong. So baby, I'm saying so long. I gotta move on. Mama, gotta get away from you. Living here, baby, without you is getting me down. Gotta move, gotta move, gotta move. Baby, I got to get away from you. Here's the big bridge here. You're a red hot mom, now that's for sure. And I can be one bomb and ready out for more. Like a double barrel shotgun gauge for the low. But I got to get away from you. You get the idea. On that CD, we recorded a version of it with nice big horn solos and everything like that, but you get the idea. So I moved down to Myrtle Beach. This is about 16 years ago. And I spent a lot of time down there in various bands, but particularly one called Virtue Trap. Don't everybody gasp at once when you learn that I was in the Virtue Trap. We did a lot of gigs down at the beach. They sounded kind of a lot like this, you know. Mustang Sally. You know, you get the idea, you know. Jenny, Jenny, who can I turn to? We did a lot of that. It was fun. And one day we got a call from the House of Blues, and they wanted us to open up. We wanted us to be the opening act for the Doobie Brothers. Oh, hell yeah, the Doobie Brothers. We said yes to that, because there's my brother Carol over there. Say hi, Carol. That's one of my first guitar teachers. We love the Doobies. We still, so... Don't you feel it growing day by day? People getting ready for the news. Some are happy, some are sad. Let that music play. Everybody help me. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa. Anyway, we did that. And it was fun. I mean, we did a lot of the, we played all around. It was fun, kind of, sometimes. And then we didn't do that anymore, and I don't do that anymore. I recommend you don't do that. But when you need to pay rent, I recommend that you do it. And but anyway, the remnants of that band turned into this band called the Waccamaw Dreadnoughts, and we got 2 CDs we've done. I want to play a couple of those. We all teach at the university there, so there are about 13 university degrees in the band, you know. And but anyway, we wrote a bunch of songs and we recorded them. You're welcome to buy some of them. Here's one I wrote about. This is an end of the world song. Like, what if the world ended? And I wrote this song. And it's about my sweet, lovely life, Rose, back there. Say hi, Rose. She's not real social. Anyway. One day our beautiful sun may grow in size until it burns this whole damn planet to the ground. And it will shrink and explode and the whole solar system will be as dark as night. That's a billion years or more from now, and they're not really sure it's gonna happen anyhow. So hold me tight, hold me tight. under our beautiful sun. One day the caldera under the Yellowstone, they bury all of us 10 feet deep in lava. And though it's thousands of years overdue to go off, we all still sleep at night. 'Cause the eruption zone is quiet right now, and they're not really sure it's gonna happen anyhow. So hold me tight, yeah, hold me tight. And please remind me every now and then just how quickly it all can be destroyed. And shake me back the sense when I lose my mind, and I'm cruel to you just like a stupid boy. Someday if we find out one of these prophecies we've been ignoring for years is really true, I'll take you up on the roof to watch it all go down and have a laugh or two. And when the end is really near, you'll cry, but I'll say, baby, look me right in the eye and hold me tight, yeah, hold me tight. Destroyed. Shake me back the sense when I lose my mind. Hold me tight under our beautiful sun. Under our beautiful sun. Under our beautiful sun. So we wrote that song for the Walk of Ma Dreadnoughts, which was the remnants of Virtue Trip. And then that was 2015, we finally got that done. And then the next year, actually that fall, 2015, right after we'd done the CD, does anybody remember, you wouldn't if you didn't live in South Carolina, we had the flood of the century. Anybody remember this? It was the so-called, they called it the flood of the century. And it was really bad. You know, Conway, the town flooded, and it was really pretty bad. So my house didn't flood. Nobody I knew flooded, and it seemed okay. And then the next year, they broke the record again, right? It was the flood of the next century, or the flood of the millennium. Flood of the millennium. And then we got a year off in 2017, and then 2018, we had a nightmare hurricane called Florence. Anybody lived through that? It was really a nightmare in Conway. It actually was. We were living under National Guard protection for a few weeks and couldn't get anywhere. I'm not making this up. It was terrible. And but every year it broke the millennium record. So I like to tell people that in flood years, I'm 3,000 years old. That joke usually goes over bigger, but anyway. So anyway, we got actually quite, it was, you don't see how much that affects people until you live through it. And you see people, with the literally rotting fish in their living room, and not just because they didn't eat it, but because they died in there. So anyway, we wrote a whole CD full of songs that are about living in a town that's been flooded out, and it's only now just sort of getting back on its feet. So anyway, here's just one of those off of that brand new 2019. Welcome on Dreadnoughts Rivertown. This one's called Back to Black. Not back in black, back to black. And it's about, well, you'll hear. Cypress water of the Waccamaw runs black, and it's good to drink. And the fish love swimming in it. But that can change in a minute when the hurricane rain comes. goes down, and the water turns brown. Yeah, the water turns brown. So get back in your banks, just one of Mother Nature's pranks. Get back in your banks. We got National Guard tanks run around this town, and we gotta get Conway back. So you gotta go back to black. Sandy soil in this lowland won't drain, 'cause the summer's been wet and ain't over yet. Then 15 inches in a weekend fell hard on Rivertown, and the water turned brown. Yeah, the water turned brown. So get back in your banks. You're just one of Mother Nature's pranks. Get back in your banks. You got National Guard tanks run around this town, and we gotta get Conway back. So you gotta go back to black. Everything gonna be alright, I know, 'cause the water gonna go where the water goes. Everything gonna be alright, I know, 'cause the water gonna go where the water goes. So get back in your banks. You're just one of Mother Nature's pranks. Get back in your banks. We got National Guard tanks run around this town, and we gotta get Conway back. So you gotta go back to black. Yeah, we gotta get Conway back. We gotta go back to black. There you go. How about a little democracy in action right now? You want to see a little democracy in action? I will abide by the vote, but I've got a Donald Trump protest song. I'll only play it if the crowd in a voice vote says they all. Let's hear the yeas. You want to hear the Donald Trump protest song? Yeah! Let's hear the nays. I'm sorry, but the yeas have it. Here we go. I'll stop in between verses and make sure you're okay with continuing. Donald J. Trump is just crazy as hell. He wants to put children in detention cells. He says that this country can be great again, and I think I agree if we'll get rid of him. So let's bring Donald Trump back to 1939, when they built all them ovens and the goose stepped in line. He's a lot more like cancer than something benign. Let's send Donald Trump back to 1939. You want to hear the second verse? Donald J. Trump says he's gonna build a wall, paid for by Mexico and 50 feet tall. And you might think that's something I couldn't abide, but I'd actually like it if he's on the other side. So let's send Donald Trump down there south of the border, get some distance between us and his mental disorder. He's speaking a language I can't understand. Send him down south of the old Rio Grande. There's the third verse. You want it? Donald J. Trump says he's working for good, and the people who love him are misunderstood. He says he's not the one who's behind the attacks on the commies and the hippies and the liberals and the blacks. So let's send Donald Trump somewhere far away from here. Or maybe David Copperfield could make him disappear. He's a lot more like cancer than something benign. He's a man who belongs in another place and time. Yes, Donald J. Trump is just crazy as hell, and he's taking a dump on the Liberty Bell. He's a lot more like cancer than something benign. He's a man who belongs in another place and time. Those songs go together because the Great Conway Floods and the Donald Trump presidency are the greatest natural disasters. I don't know if one's a natural disaster. But anyway. Y'all want to hear some ukulele? Yeah. All right. Say, I'm unplugging. You got it. God. Ukulele! While I was being a virtue trap, rock and roll, my soul rebelled. It did. And I developed a thing. If you knew me, this is going to sound funny, but I'm not sure it was all that funny. Because for about 3 to 4 years, and I'm not joking, I went everywhere I went, I had a ukulele with me. And I don't mean just, I'm not saying that, that's not a metaphor. You know, like everywhere I went, I went to teach class, I put the ukulele on the desk, I finished teaching, I picked it up, I walked back to my office with it. I don't know what that was about, but anyway. It did lead to this multi-dozen selling ukulele classic. You Can Call Me the Pledge. I want to do some songs off of this. So anyway, arguably the greatest all ukulele album recorded in Conway, South Carolina in the late 2000s. I think that's safe to say. Number one. Here's one called Girl Next Door. And in reality, the girl next door, who literally lives next to me, is actually a 96-year-old woman. So this is not about a literal girl, although I love her dearly, but not in this way. So. I've been here all night watching your front door, and I've never seen you out this late before. I'm afraid that new guy who's hanging round has come and got you, and you're showing him the town. And you might be somewhere, and you might be having coffee after drinks, or you might be somewhere dancing cheek to cheek. And although I might be sad, you know I won't be mad, 'cause I really could have said something before. I'm in love with the girl next door, though I hardly ever see her anymore. I'm in love with the girl next door, and though I've known her all these years, just tonight it's finally clear that I really should have said, I really should have said, I really should have said something before.
I got really into the uke, and I listened to all the old uke music, and it just became a thing. And I'd like to say this is one of maybe 6 or 8 ukuleles I own, but it's more like one of 36 or 38. I have a very tolerant wife who allows me to do that. We live in the second largest bedroom in the house, so that I can keep all of my stuff in the biggest bedroom. Now that's devotion. I appreciate that. Thank you, Rose. Take a look at my face, and darling, can't you tell? I'm not only been getting along, darling, I've been doing well. I got me a day job and all new friends, lots of new clothes and money to spend. Yeah, you can say I'm in a whole new place. Take a look at my face. Yeah, I'll admit there were some lonely nights, singing a sad, sad song. But that's all over, baby, I'm alright. Those days are long, long gone. So look straight in the eye, and it should be clear. You might have told me to hit the road, but darling, I'm still right here. I'm having lots more fun than we used to, and I'm living the nightlife too. So why should I care at the end of the day, darling, if I don't have you? Yeah, why should I care at the end of the day, oh, if I don't have you? Oh, if I don't have you. Oh, darling, if I don't have you. I want to say once again, Robert Alfonso came up and did some of mine. I love his songs. I told somebody as I was listening, I said, nobody suffers as beautifully as Robert does. And I've tried. I can't make it that pretty. I can't do it. But Robert is the one that, I think before I met Robert, this was like going on 40 years ago now, my idea of high art was, Quiet Riot or something. And I met Robert, he played me things like Jacques Brel, and tall and tan and young and lovely. Like, I thought that was just bad elevator music. And he said, no, it's really good. And we listened to it. I really loved it. So the first chance I got to go over to Europe, where Robert had been way before me, I was really excited. I'm going to go, see great music at nights in these little clubs. And of course, you go into the tourist parts, and they're marketing to American tourists. So you see the same Jimmy Buffett and Eric Clapton bullshit in the bar. It's the same crap. I realize you have to get away from the tourist areas, but that's not where I was. And so, but so I got back from my first trip over there, and I wrote, this is what I wanted to hear, but it wasn't. I'm sure they played this, but I just wasn't hearing it. In the cafe just down the street, there's music every night of the week. They got violins and mandolins in the cafe just down the street. And in the cafe just down the street, there's a girl I'd like to meet. And if I knew her name, I'd brave this rain to the cafe just down the street. But if you go tonight, they'll treat you right. Fill your glass with mine. But as for me, here's where I'll be. I could go there any old time. To the cafe just down the street. And in the cafe just down the rue. See, that's like a French word. Thank you. Mais oui. In the cafe just down the rue, there's a girl I'd like to woo. But till the weather clears, I'll be right here and leave her all treat you right and fill your glass with wine. And as for me, here's where I'll be. I could go there any old time, to the cafe just down the street. But actually, as I say, they were really just playing Margaritaville like they do here. Not even in French. I did find out the other day that Jimmy Buffett was born on December 25th, which I said earlier does lead some credence to the whole Christ versus Antichrist argument. I just don't care for Jimmy Buffett. I'm sorry. You know, should I? Somebody tell me why I should love Jimmy Buffett, and I will. Give me a good reason.
There's worse out there.
There's worse out there. Also, he did write Come Monday, which is a damn good song.
There's a couple of good songs.
Come Monday, it'll be alright. Come Monday, I'll be holding you tight. I spent 4 lonely days in a brown LA haze. I can't believe I'm singing Jimmy Buffett, but that's a good tune. That's a good tune. So, okay. Maybe not. Maybe it's not that. I'm sorry, Jimmy. Please continue donating money to flood victims in Florida or wherever you do. But he does. He's actually a decent human being. I just don't like his music. I'm sorry. I've tried.
Don't apologize.
Never apologize. Never apologize.
Give her a sponge cake.
Indeed. If you love me right, and if you hold on night, if you dance too close, make me feel I'm you almost. When you dream so real, dream of great magnetic fields, dream of things that can't be known, dream of wings that can't be flown. When you wake, be slow to rise. Play pretend and close your eyes. Give whole days to nothing much. Always know that's quite enough. When you love me right. When you love me right. Somebody requested that I do this one, but here we go. Sing along if you know it. I think I did it again. I played with your heart. I lost in the game. You might think it's a crush. That doesn't mean that I'm serious. 'Cause you lose all my senses. It's just so typically me. Oh, baby, baby, oops. Did it again. I played with your heart. Got lost in your game. Oh, baby, baby, you might think I'm in love. Sent from above, but I'm not so innocent. There you go. All right, and sing this one if you like. I love this tune, and it sounds good on you, so I'm going to play it on you. Our life together is so precious. Together we have grown. We have grown. And well, I like is still special. Let's take a chance and fly away somewhere alone. It's been too long since we took the time. No one's to blame. I know time flies so quickly. It's time to spread our wings and fly. Don't let another day go by, my love. It will be just like starting over. Starting over. Every day we used to making love. Why can't we be taking love nice and easy? But when I see you, darling, it's like we both are falling in love again. It will be just like starting over. Starting over. Why don't we take off alone on a trip somewhere far, far away? We be together on our own again, like we were back in the early days. Early days. Well, well, darling, it's been too long since we took the time. No one's to blame. I know time flies so quickly. But when I see you, darling, it's like we both are falling in love again. It will be just like starting over.
I don't have this one on the list, but it made me think of this. George Harrison was a great lover of the ukulele. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous. And at his, not funeral, but at his tribute concert that, all the big names came to it. It actually ended with this song, which is a British song. You may know it. I'll see you in my dreams. You know that song?
From that.
You know it from that, yeah.
Lonely days are long. Twilight sings the song of the happiness that used to be. Soon my eyes will close and I'll find repose. And in dreams you're always near to me. And I'll see you in my dreams. Hold you in my dreams. Someone took you out of my arms, but I still feel the thrill of your charms. Your lips that once were mine. Tender eyes that shine. They will light my lonely way tonight. And I'll see you in my dreams.
Say goodbye to the soprano ukulele. It's going away. Hope you enjoyed it. But I got a brand new ukulele just 2 days ago for Christmas. Isn't it pretty? Yes. Rose looked around the house and said, "You know what you need is another ukulele." And this is a baritone ukulele. I'm a great fan of the baritone. I haven't written a lot of baritone songs, but I want y'all to hear some baritone. My first music teachers were my folks, of course. My dad taught me. He's sitting right there.
He taught me that. He taught me violin, which I was terrible. I mean, really terrible. I have this theory about violin is that, and I think it's true, that in order to play it where I mean, just awful. And I didn't have that kind of patience at age 4. So I'm sorry. The what?
I forgive you.
He forgives me. They were always listening to music, you know, a lot of times classical music and things like that. So my dad played in the orchestra, and my mother was studied voice. And she tried to teach me piano. I was bad at that too. But they also played a lot of music in addition to classical music and things like that. They listened to Burl Ives a lot, and I developed a thing for Burl Ives that I still can't. I love Burl Ives. I love him. And here was one of my favorite Burl Ives song off of an album that they played a lot. It was called Saltwater Guitar. It's not famous or anything, but I just love it. So. I love to watch the seagulls flying over my head, the water birds in waiting as the sky turning red. Oh, there's lots of folks in love with the sea, but there ain't no one who loves it like me. And if I walked along the beach another million years, there'd be nothing any sweeter to my sunburned ears than to hear a lonely surfer playing an old saltwater guitar. With frets so old and rusty from saltwater spray, strings of coyote fog made them that way, and scratched up by sand like a driftwood tree. Just musical wreckage, but not to me. And if I had to lie in seaweed that was 3 feet deep, I could sun myself forever till I fell asleep. Well, I listened to a surfer playing an old saltwater guitar. Or I listened to a surfer playing an old saltwater guitar. Listen to a surfer playing an old saltwater guitar. Isn't that a great song?
I forgive you for not liking Burl Ives.
I do like Burl Ives. I love Burl Ives. I since read about him though that he did a bad thing. He testified against musicians at the McCarthy trials. Yeah, that wasn't good. Yeah, he did. But he could sing. I mean, what are you going to do? Which, you know, that makes me think, and I've had this conversation with somebody recently. I can't remember who it was. You like an artist. You want a songwriter, an artist, somebody. There's two things. You either like the art, the stuff that they do, or you like them as a person, right? Like the other night there was the 50th anniversary of Dolly on TV, and I admit it, I'm not that crazy about Dolly music. I don't hate it. I think it's fine, but I love Dolly so much. Like I would test her food if there were poison in it, anything for Dolly. I love Dolly. But I had to watch the 50th anniversary of Dolly. And then there's people that, you don't necessarily like the person, but you like their art. Like Pete Townsend, I would say, you know. I don't know which of those I want to be. I don't know if I want you to like me or like my song. I'm not sure you can do both.
Oh, well.
You can do both. Do you like me? Do you really like me?
You know Michael Jackson?
All right, sing this one if you know it. Come with me and we'll be in a world of pure imagination. In a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of your creation. What we'll see may defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. Can someone help my dad up the stairs? I don't want him to fall.
Here it comes. Okay. Come on around here, right to this microphone. Right here, you good? Yep. Okay. Every time I go to a concert like this, somebody comes up and says, I had your class. I'm always glad to hear about it. And there are a few people here who had my class, including this guy. And this guy over here, Carol, and the love of my life back there, Louise. But I must admit, Louise asked me if she could take algebra under me. I said, you may audit algebra, but you may not take it. She said, that didn't go over too well. But I said, I could not imagine assigning my wife a grade. I did assign my boys a grade. Okay. In fact, Scott keeps reminding me of this. And well, actually Carol more than Scott. That Carol had calculus under me, and there was a beautiful lady in there. I think he paid more attention, or one of my students, more attention to her than he did to me. But he was a good student. He made 89, and the A started with a 90. I gave him a B. He hasn't forgiven me yet. Have you, Carol? Not yet. Not yet. And Scott. Same damn thing happened to me.
Same damn thing. And Scott was in my algebra class at ETSU, and he gets a little fidgety now and then, so he would flip his pencil and so forth. It sort of distracted me a little bit, but I lived through it somehow. But he did not want his fellow students to know that I was his dad. So when I called the roll, his name is Scott Edward Pleasant. I called his name is Scott Edward. So he kept us up this ruse for most of the semester until he dropped a book once and it had the name Pleasant on it. And the student said, what?
Is that your dad?
Well, he wasn't thrilled with the idea of the class knowing I was his dad for some reason. But anyway,
Crazy thought.
anyway. I'm sorry, didn't get that.
You said you didn't show any favoritism to anything. Tell me
Well,
about your song.
Well, I'll tell you. Let me tell you about Gary. Gary didn't make it here tonight. Gary is very fast. If any of you are runners, you might know my son Gary. He runs around this town a lot. And what did he do in Myrtle Beach?
He broke 3 hours in a marathon. If you know anything about that, that's really fast. So, anyway, there's this poem I wrote 70 years ago. That's 70 years ago. And it's about Andrew Jackson. And I wrote it from a history class. Nobody had ever written a poem for a history class, but my 6 weeks project was due. I was a curb hop on skates, and the day before my 6 weeks project was due, and I, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, I decided nothing else, plenty of cars to wait on, so I decided, well, I'm going to write a poem. So in between cars, we were very busy that day. I wrote this poem about Andrew Jackson, and Scott later set it to music, because we used to recite it as we'd ride around the country. So Andy Jackson. Okay. Okay. Okay, good. Waxhaw was a lonely place from sunrise clean till dawn. Nothing ever happened there till old Andrew came along. He was rough and ready. He was known both far and wide. He fought both white and red men with his pistol by his side.
Old Andy Jackson, old Andy Jackson. He was born in Waxhaw, South Carolina, and that's a good place to live.
When the war broke out with England one cold and bluster night, Andy grabbed his knife and gun and rode away to fight. He led his men to New Orleans, each one was World War IV. Andrew soon became, my friend, the hero of the war.
Old Andy Jackson, old Andy Jackson. He was born in Waxhaw, South Carolina, and that's a good place to live.
When the English guns his more ring, he returned to his old homestead. He found as a result of an Indian fight, his beloved ones were dead. Andy Jackson vowed to avenge someone that surely fled. He bore this grudge in his weary heart until his dying day.
Old Andy Jackson, old Andy Jackson. He was born in Waxhaw, South Carolina, and that's a good place to live.
Once again was wronged in 1824. Cheated by a crooked deal, he couldn't take much more. All the friends who loved him and knew that he was great made sure he became the president in 1828.
Old Andy Jackson, old Andy Jackson.
He was born in Waxhaw, South Carolina, and that's a good place to live.
Okay, before probably overstayed my welcome a little bit, but I got something I want to do. Coming up is going to be Mike Hilliard and crew, but I want to feature one of their players who I'm incredibly impressed with.
I'm in way over my head.
No. For better or worse, I have over the last couple of years, as fond as I am of rock music, I've been studying jazz chords and stuff, and took some jazz guitar lessons, where you learn what a 13th chord is and stuff like that. So I've been playing piano too. Come on up. This is Melanie, Melanie Hilliard, and she is just aces on the steel slide guitar. So I'm going to play a little bit of keyboard here. And I want you to just bask in the glow of one. I love a steel guitar, and I just want you to hear it. Don't pay so much attention to the piano. Listen to the steel, okay?
I'll listen to the piano.
And give me a minute. I got to set this up. And I wrote this, and the words haven't been written. Robert says he's going to write words for me. But I decided it sounds like the kind of music a man writes when he gets into middle age and his testosterone starts to get low. So I decided the working title for this song is Low T for writing. That's my rap. Low T. Let's see if I can get this thing. Somebody tell a joke or something while I get this set up. Any limericks? You got one. I'll get a joke. Too many filters. We got a joke here. What joke? I order you to laugh at this joke. I'm sure it will be funny.
Believe me, this is unrehearsed, but Scott didn't know I was going to do this.
I sure didn't.
You didn't know it. No.
No, I didn't.
Now this, old people get fun made of them a lot of times about various things. People get fun made of them. People get fun, have fun made of them if they live in trailers. And I've spent a lot of my life in all kinds. We've lived in every kind of trouble you can imagine. We live in a house right now, but we still have trailers, don't we, Scott?
Yes, we do.
You've lived in trailers with us.
And on my own, yes.
Right. But anyway, I'm not going to tell a trailer joke because some of them sort of irritate me a little bit. I don't know a good trailer. Anyway, but I do know this situation. I know. I'll tell a joke about old people. Okay. Anyway, I heard this about this gentleman who had a friend who was an old guy too, and he was at the doctor's office, and he was having his yearly checkup. And the doctor said, "Now, is there anything else that we need to think about?" And he said, "Well, there is nothing about me, but about my wife. My wife, I think, is having a hearing problem. She's having a problem with the hearing. Well, I have a little trouble with hearing too. But anyway, so he described the hearing problem a little bit. The doctor said, "Well, here's what you need to do. When you go home, I want you, when you walk in the door, I want you to ask your wife a question. And then if she doesn't hear, then move closer, about 5 steps closer. And then say it again, ask the question again." And so when he got home, he did that. And he asked his wife a question. He said, "What's for dinner?" Nothing. He heard nothing. And so he moved 5 steps closer, and he said, "What's for dinner?" No sound at all. He didn't get nothing, no sound at all. He walked 5 steps closer. "What's for dinner?" And she said, "Spaghetti for the 3rd time."
The man missed his calling. All that silly algebra all those years, he should have been a comedian. Anyway, here's Melanie. One more for you, and then want to get Mike and the group up. But we should do one seasonal song, should we not? Should we not? And I think you'll all know this one. And once again, Melanie's going to help us out. And anybody else who wants to come up, and Gary's got his work. Who else is coming up to help us sing? Come on. Get on up. It's not a chorus, we got to say school.
From the Peanuts special. Oh yeah, the producer of the Lee Mendelsohn, producer of the Charlie Brown Christmas, just died today, and he actually wrote the lyrics to this song. Yeah.